Ever see a photo so real you felt like you could just reach out and touch it, like actually feel the texture, the way
Yeah.
the light's hitting it, the whole 9 yards? Well, get this. Scientists are getting closer to actually making that happen,
Right.
being able to figure out a material just from a photo.
Mm.
And that's our deep dive today. A paper called Single Image SVB RDF Capture with a Rendering-Aware Deep Network.
Mm.
We're talking about getting all that info about a material just from one picture.
Wow.
It's got to be harder than it sounds, right?
Oh, it's incredibly complex. Think about it. To capture how a material interacts with light, all from a single snapshot.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about digitally recreating, like, everything from the sheen of silk to,
Yeah.
the rough texture of tree bark.
Right. And it's that interaction with light that makes a material a material. So
Yeah.
how's that even possible? A photo's just light hitting your camera.
Exactly. And that's where traditional methods hit a wall. They
Yeah.
either need a ton of photos under very specific lighting, or they make some pretty big assumptions about the materials.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them assume the material has a repeating pattern,
Okay.
like wood grain. But what about things that are more random, like crumpled fabric or a complex organic texture?
Yeah, a one-size-fits-all approach isn't going to cut it here. So this paper's doing something different.
Definitely. This paper uses deep learning to figure out, like, how materials appear. It's basically teaching a computer to see materials the way we do, with all their, like, little variations and complexities.
Teaching a computer to see, that sounds straight out of sci-fi. How are they doing that?
So they trained this deep learning network on a huge database of what are called procedural SVB RDFs.
Procedural SVB RDFs.
Yeah, think of them like recipes for materials created by artists who work in, video games and movies.
Right.
They're basically the building blocks for those super realistic surfaces we see in, like, digital worlds.
So they're learning from the pros, the artists who already know how to make light and materials look a certain way. That's smart.
Exactly. And by giving the network this huge library of material recipes,
Yeah.
it learns to connect the dots between a material's properties and how it looks under different lighting.
Okay, the computer is learning, but what exactly is it learning to DO? What's the end result?
It's learning to predict 4 main maps that basically, like, describe the material's visual DNA. Normal, diffuse albedo, specular albedo, and specular roughness.
Well, hold on. I definitely need a visual here. Break those maps down for me.
Sure. Imagine looking at a surface. The normal map shows how rough or smooth it appears at each point,
Okay.
like a bump map. Then you've got the diffuse albedo, which is the material's base color,
Uh-huh.
like if there were no reflections. The specular albedo is the color of those shiny highlights you get when light hits it.
Yeah.
And lastly, the specular roughness map tells us, how sharp or blurry those reflections are.
Okay, so they're like breaking down a material's appearance into these layers, like peeling an onion. Is this how they get those super realistic reflections in video games and movies?
You got it.
Wow.
But they do something really innovative here, too.
Okay.
Instead of just comparing the maps, they do what's called a rendering loss.
Rendering loss. Sounds intense. Explain.
Okay, so picture this. They show the network's prediction
Uh-huh.
and the actual material to a virtual light source.
Okay.
The closer the two look under all sorts of lighting, the better the network's doing. So it's not just matching numbers. It's about
Okay.
capturing the look and feel of the material.
Uh-huh. So it's like the AI is learning that a material can look different under different lighting, but still the same material, right?
That's it.
Like my shirt looks different in sunlight than inside, but it's still the same shirt. It's focusing on the big picture.
Right.
I like it. So does it actually work? Can it really capture a material just from a photo?
The results are pretty amazing. The paper shows it doing better than previous methods, especially with those subtle changes in shininess you see across the surface. Like, they were able to get gold paint just right, and even tell the difference between black and white tiles that had different levels of roughness.
Wow, that's wild. It's like the AI is picking up on things that I wouldn't even notice. This is starting to feel like, sci-fi stuff. But let's back up a sec. What does this all actually mean? Like, why is being able to capture materials digitally such a big deal?
That's the real question, right? I mean, it's cool to have the tech, but how does it actually help people? And the potential is huge.
Okay.
Like, let's start with manufacturing.
Yeah, good point. I bet designers and engineers would love this.
Imagine being able to design, like, anything, a car, a phone, even a new type of fabric.
Yeah.
And you can see exactly how it'll look and feel
Yeah.
before you even make a physical prototype.
That's a game changer, right? No more guessing games or wasted time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You could try out tons of different options in a virtual world,
I like it. A digital playground for materials.
and it could even help with the actual manufacturing process.
That's so.
Think about robots on the assembly line with cameras, analyzing materials in real time, making
Interesting.
sure everything's consistent and high quality.
So fewer defects, less waste, and products that are more durable, everyone wins.
And it's not just physical products either. Think about video games and virtual reality.
Ooh, yeah. We're already seeing some crazy realistic
Right.
graphics.
But this could take it to another level. Imagine stepping into a virtual world
Yeah.
that looks and feels so real. You could almost touch the textures.
Blurring the lines between the physical and digital.
And it's not just about entertainment either. Think about education and training.
Like what?
Medical students could practice surgery on virtual patients that look and feel real.
Oh, that's cool.
Or architects could design buildings and walk through them virtually.
Wow, that's awesome. The possibilities are really endless.
What about e-commerce? This could be huge for online shopping.
Right. Finally being able to really see what you're buying before you buy it.
Exactly. You can see how a fabric drapes, how jewelry catches the light, or how a paint color looks on your wall, all from home.
No more relying on those tiny photos online.
Yeah.
You could virtually try on clothes, see how furniture would look in your living room, even test out different makeup shades.
Exactly.
It would completely change online shopping.
And it doesn't even have to stop at visual realism.
Mhm.
As this research progresses, who knows what other sensory info we could capture?
Okay, now you're getting really futuristic. Are we talking about being able to smell a virtual rose or something?
Well, maybe not that advanced yet.
Okay.
But imagine being able to feel the coolness of marble, the softness of cashmere,
Yeah.
all through a virtual interface.
Whoa, that's insane. It's like bringing the sense of touch to the digital world.
Exactly.
Suddenly, online shopping becomes a whole different experience. But okay, let's talk about how they actually did this.
Okay.
We've talked about the what and the why, but now I want to know the HOW. How did they train this AI to see materials the way we do?
It all comes back to that giant database of procedural SVBRDFs, those material recipes made by artists.
Yeah, yeah.
By feeding all those different recipes into the network, it learns to connect them to the final look you get under different lighting.
Like giving the AI a crash course in material science taught by the best in the biz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they use a specific type of neural network for this,
Oh, yeah.
called a UNet. They're great for image-to-image translation.
Image-to-image translation, like turning a photo into a painting.
Exactly. But here, they're taking a photo and turning it into those maps that describe the material's properties.
Oh, right, right.
But there's a catch. Standard UNets sometimes struggle to capture global information, like those large-scale patterns that are super important.
So they had to make sure the AI wasn't just focusing on the little details and missing the big picture.
You got it.
Okay.
They added another network track that specifically focuses on those global features.
Clever. So like giving the network a wider field of view.
Right.
Okay, so we got the UNet, the Global Feature Network.
Yeah.
What else is happening?
Well, don't forget about that rendering loss idea. The goal isn't just to match the maps perfectly. It's about
Right.
making sure the material looks right under different lighting.
Yeah, like making sure the AI understands how light interacts with the material in different environments.
Exactly. And they use a virtual light source to do this.
Okay.
They compare how the predicted material and the real material look under different lighting setups.
Yeah.
The closer they look, the better the network's doing.
So it's like they're training the network to think like a photographer, a lighting designer,
Yeah.
and a material scientist all at the same time.
That's a great way to put it. It's this combo of different fields that makes this research so innovative. But, it's not perfect. It's still early days, and there's some things they need to work on.
Oh, for sure. No technology is perfect. So what are the limitations?
One thing to keep in mind is that this AI learns from those material recipes, those procedural SVBRDFs.
Yeah.
And while those are great, they're still made by people.
Right. So the AI might miss some of the
Yeah.
real world quirks of materials.
Exactly. It's like learning to paint by only copying a few artists. You'll be great at their style, but anything new will be tough. To really push this tech forward, we need to expand the AI's training data,
Okay.
include more materials
Yeah.
captured straight from the real world.
Give the AI a broader education, expose it to all kinds of different textures and stuff. Makes sense. What else needs work?
Well, right now they're focusing on 4 main things about how a material looks.
Yeah.
The normal map, diffuse, and specular albedo, and specular roughness.
Okay.
Those are important, but they don't tell the whole story for every material.
Interesting. What are we missing?
There are materials that have properties that go beyond those four maps.
Okay.
Think about like brushed metal.
Mm.
It has those tiny grooves that reflect light differently depending on how you look at it.
Right.
Or velvet. It can look darker or lighter based on how it's brushed.
Oh, I see. So those subtle changes,
Yeah.
they're not being captured right now?
Not fully, no. Future research could add more maps or parameters to get those nuances.
Okay.
It's like giving the AI a deeper understanding of materials.
It's not perfect yet, but hey, every big discovery has to start somewhere, right? Where do you see this tech going in the next few years?
One exciting thing is bringing in other senses. We talked about visuals, but what about touch?
Right. That whole matrix idea, being able to actually feel the virtual world.
But it doesn't have to stop there. Smell, taste, even temperature. Imagine virtual experiences that use all your senses.
Hold on, virtual taste. Now you're really going sci-fi on me. How would that even work?
It's very early, but researchers are already looking at stimulating taste buds with electrical impulses.
Huh.
So maybe one day we'll be able to taste a virtual meal.
That's both amazing and a little scary to think about.
It definitely raises some big questions.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, AI and this kind of material capture tech have the potential to, totally change how we experience the world.
I'm with you on that. It feels like we're at the beginning of a whole new era of material science, one that's powered by AI.
Well said.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive.
It really has.
We've covered so much, from the technical details to the potential applications, and even some of the ethical stuff we need to think about as this tech keeps developing.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure exploring all this with you.
And to all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and given you lots to ponder. Until next time.
Keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and keep diving deep.